as we move closer towards Generation 10 and the 30th year anniversary of Pokemon, is it possible to make a perfect Pokemon game? Let's look back at our favorite titles and dissect the best features. Welcome back to Hidden Power. This is a Pokemon podcast. My name is DustyGogoat. Today I'm joined by the LumiosePost, SoulSilverArt, and a special guest today, Steve, also known as PKMN Cast, the host and showrunner of the podcast. It's super effective. Let us know in the comments what your favorite Pokemon features are. Welcome, Steve.
Hi, my name is Steve. I am the host and creator of a podcast called It's Super Effective, which has been around for way too long, but it comes out every Monday, and it's just a general news podcast. So we'll cover Pokemon Sleep, the anime, the video game, Pokemon Go, Masters Unite, pretty much anything Pokemon. If the FBI is involved in somebody stealing a bunch of Pokemon cards from a warehouse, we'll cover
that was
that
a good
too.
episode. I did listen to that one.
That's what I do every week, and then I'm just a content creator outside of that, so I'll stream a lot on Twitch. I'll do like Pokemon playthroughs or shiny hunting or raid builds and help people get raids done. And then sometimes, like maybe once a month, I'll have a cool YouTube video ideal. But yeah, I'm very fortunate enough to be able to do this full time for a living.
Yeah, you're a valuable creator in this space for sure. All right, guys, let's start with Generation 1. Green, red, blue, yellow. What are your ideal? Should I just start this off to get it going?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Did you play
So
green? That's the real question.
I've actually never played green. I've never played green.
Yeah.
But I think
that's the Japanese one, right? I've never played that one.
Yeah.
No.
I think the feature. This was tough because I was going through the feature list. I'm just racking my brain. What is in red and blue? What is in Gen 1 that's not in other generations? And the only thing that really stood out to me as significant or
missing now.
Safari Zone. I miss the Safari Zone, right? That's something that, so for me, I think what I love about the Safari Zone is, I guess, there's like an element of like rarity beyond legendary Pokemon, right? And there's also like this limitation. I mean, you guys know what the Safari Zone is, right? You go into
naturally.
You go into the park, right? There's rare Pokemon all over the place. You're limited in steps. You're limited in the amount of Pokeballs you can throw. The Pokemon can run from you. That's like almost like another level of like a challenge.
I can throw rocks at a bull.
You can, but we don't talk about that. You can throw bait. You can throw bait at the Pokemon, right? And I think
mud.
I think in universe also, I love thinking about like how these Pokemon actually like where are they from, right? Like if let's say if there was a Safari Zone in Kalos, like you could fill the Safari Zone with Pokemon from Alola. Yeah, okay, that's true. There is the Friend Safari. That's a little bit different, though. It's a little bit different. But you're right. You're right. And I think, I don't know. I think the Safari Zone was a lot of fun. And they kind of it hasn't existed really since Gen 4.
Can I push back on that a little bit and
Sure.
say that the Safari Zone is kind of like the first like tiny pebble in Legends Arceus gameplay? Am I crazy for saying that?
No, that kind of makes sense.
What you just described to me was like, oh, that's kind of what you do in
That's a
in
good
Legends.
point. You can kind of disrupt.
Yeah,
the Pokeball.
You throw mud, you throw the Pokeballs you don't have to battle. So like,
I don't think I've thought about that
literally
before.
the Safari Zone.
Dusty accidentally just said the best thing about Gen 1 was that it was Gen 8.
Yeah. That's a good point. I think I do like that.
I just thought about it when you said it. I was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's also a unique experience because you're not battling the Pokemon. But I don't know. The Safari Zone was always really cool to me growing up. So yeah, maybe I just want more Legends games. Maybe that's what I want.
Seems that way.
I would say your answer made me think of my answer, and that is because I was struggling to think of an answer because I was like, what does Gen 1 have that the other games don't? Because it's like the foundation, right? So it's hard to pick things from it. But I think Gen 1 did a really good job of, for one, we kind of joked on Secret Power about Pokemon stories and how they're not usually the best. But I liked Gen 1 kind of had these side stories in them that got really dark, right? Like the Marowak stuff, obviously, that's not the main plot of the game. It's kind of loosely tied to it in that it is Team Rocket, but it's very much its own little plot. And then little things like there's an officer who's thirsty and I have to get him tea, and I can't understand the Safari Zone warden, so I need to go find his teeth in the Safari Zone. Just little tiny errands like that you actually do need to do to progress through the game, but
Yeah.
they're not like evil team is here and you need to fight them. They're just like,
They're like side
he needs some
quest
tea, go get
coded.
some tea, you know?
Mhm.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could be wrong, and I'm trying to think of like in Legends or in like Paldea, but I think one of the things that stood out to me in Gen 1 was the power plant and how
Yeah.
you could play through that entire game and never go there. Nowhere does it really point you there or you need to go there. And I feel like I can't think of an area in like Legends or in Paldea or in Sword and Shield where it was like, oh, I never knew this was here. Because those games do a really good job at just being like, okay, this is everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
when I was writing my list, I was thinking of what you just said, but for the legendary Pokemon, and then I thought this doesn't really apply because a lot of modern games do have optional legendaries. But you're right. When it comes to like an actual location, I think those things used to be a lot more optional back in the day. And yeah, I'd have to go through.
What
And
if
I'm not sure.
It
if
felt
those
a
still
bit
exist.
more like an accomplishment, you stumbling upon it.
Yeah.
Like, it's a whole building. The power plant's like this whole building that's there.
It feels
And
like a
you're
choice,
I just
right?
swam down the route and found this whole new place to explore.
Like if this isn't like if Pokemon's an RPG, right? And
It
you're
is.
and you're playing through the game.
Whoa.
Yeah, think
Yeah,
about
I
this,
know.
right?
If it is.
To give the player agency, right? There should be optional locations to explore. And I think maybe when
Right,
when people talk about like going back to another like let's go back to Kanto. We need a second region, right? Which might be on my list later on. I think what they're actually talking about is like, yeah, I want optional places to explore, right? That feel like that's the post game. That's what it gets people excited.
I mean, I get like the mystery too of it, where it's like, oh, I just discovered this.
Yeah,
or like a
discovery.
hidden area. So that's definitely cool.
Especially when there's a legendary sitting in the back of it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of those in Generation 2 as well. Like I feel like the legendary plot there. I guess actually I forget it. Do you have to encounter Ho-Oh Lugia in the original Gold and Silver? I know you have to for the remakes.
So. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Pretty sure you have to do at least one of them. The other one is post game, I think, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, maybe you have to.
That was definitely how it was in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I don't know if that's how it was in the original or not.
But there's a lot of caves in a similar way to discover, like that trainer who gives you Tyrogue. Like that's completely optional, right?
The
I feel like
lap for some Fridays.
dude, yes. So if we're moving on to Gold and Silver.
Well, I'll say one for Gen 1 really quick, and that is
Yeah.
like the buildings that have like, like the Team Rocket bases. And I know these are in like for like Gens 2 and maybe even 3. Well, like like you step on the little arrows and your guy goes spinning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like little just fun like puzzles. I think puzzles is
Oh, that's good.
I wish that they added puzzles like in I don't want to say dungeons, but in gym. They do in gyms, but you know what I mean. I don't know, like in a bigger way.
I think that makes a lot of sense. That actually, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I
Better
might just be
puzzles.
forgetting, but like,
Even.
are there puzzles in Gen 8? Are there puzzles in Gen 9?
There are. There's the
Like geographical, like overworld puzzles?
about
Regigigas in Gen 8?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very
Like,
small.
Yeah.
That could be,
Do
that
you
actually
think-
could be, what is it?
Do you think like evolving Yamask into Roomrigas
That's a
is
puzzle.
That's a riddle.
Oh,
That's-
yeah.
It's
Is
a
that
puzzle,
a puzzle? Is it a puzzle if it can't be solved?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like more frustrating than anything because like
Right.
there's nothing in the game. There's not even like an NPC that like
Sure.
gives you a hint.
Right.
I think they
Right,
put
that-
they
that's
put
so
those
wild. I
things
love
in
that they did
there
that.
to fuel playground rumors, I think. It's like, how do you do this? I
Oh
can't
yeah,
figure it out.
I think it's for people to talk.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
is cool.
I don't know if that's a puzzle because I think
Is
when I
there
think of puzzles, I think
any-
of Zelda, like old Zelda games.
I mean,
Right.
yeah.
Like I don't know, it's stupid. The old Pokemon games, you're just moving boulders or whatever. But I
Well,
don't
no,
know.
there was like the warp panels and the like little arrows that would make you like
Sure.
have to go in a certain direction.
Yeah, that's what I was
Those were a lot of fun.
The
Yeah,
slip and
that's what I
slides.
knew you were referencing. The last time I can remember those appearing in like a new gen, like not a remake, was in Kalos. They did have
Yeah.
them in the Flare base.
Team Flare had it.
But I don't remember them much outside. But then again, that was kind of our last like traditionally evil team, you know?
Yeah, because I think if we're
trying to change it up.
If we're looking at Generation 9, for example, like I feel like a lot of people had issues with the open world, or maybe they pin it on the open world. Like I feel like there are issues with Gen 9. There's a lot of great things about Gen 9. But maybe that's one of those like missing nuggets that people aren't able, like I've never thought of that, but that actually might be it. The fact that there's not like puzzles, because I don't think any of the gym puzzles are puzzles, and there's no challenge in that either.
The gym challenge things are kind of like that, but
it lasts like 60 seconds and you're just sliding down a hill. Anyways, I think that's a good pick, Soul. That's a pretty good pick.
I don't know if I'll have any other good picks. If you don't have an answer, Steve, don't you worry, because I don't have answers for all of these.
Perfect.
Just say I don't know.
Yeah. So for Generation 2, I got a lot here. But I think I think the weekly events are really cool. And you said it earlier, like the Lapras event. It's not even an event. It's just like every Friday there's a Lapras in that one cave, in Union Cave. Like, I think that kind of stuff, again, complements immersion. It complements discovery. It encourages, right, people to go out and explore things. And then when you find those things, I don't know, I guess I'm second guessing myself also, because I think also in 2024 it's very easy to just like get fed like an Easter egg video or like a how-to video, or like here's 50 things you can do in the game. But those things are, I don't know, that Lapras is so special to me. I don't even like Lapras that much. But
what?
I thought you do.
No, I do. I mean, I like Lapras. I don't dislike Lapras, but like it's not top 50.
You don't like dislike it.
But that event in Gen 2 is beautiful.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's something for me. I also like, obviously, it is nice to return to Kanto. That's special because it gives you context for a previous region that you're familiar with 3 years later. I think we got a little bit of that in Gen 9, which is great. That happened a little bit in Gen 5, which is great. But that's a special thing. And then I also like the apricorn balls. I like that they're custom.
Oh, of course.
Those are back though, kind of.
Well, yeah, but
you don't create them the
balls
same way.
Crafting them is not.
Yeah, I think the answer for, maybe it's not unanimous, but everyone should be saying that, you know, another region was fun to have.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's just a thing, but it's not realistic in every game. That's for sure either.
Mm-hmm.
I think they did a good compromise in Gen 9. Like, I think the DLC, like I when people were speculating that, oh, like they're going to add Kalos, and like Kalos is right here. Look at this gray area.
He's talking
here.
about us.
We were so close. So close.
Like it was just the next game. It was Legend ZA. It was right there. It was a hint.
My pushback was always like, Kalos didn't get a third version, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're playing this game right now. We are literally playing Gen 9 right now. Why would you want to wait this long for Kalos to have it played in this engine?
Yeah.
To have like we're falling through floors, we're barely pushing 15 frames a second. There's just so many structural, and I love Gen 9 for the record. I still play it. I do genuinely love it. But like, if I want to go back to Kalos, I want a different engine. And so I think a good compromise, and I don't think like they pivoted or anything, but I think a good compromise was like the Dome or was Kitakami, because it did feel like a whole new I think Kitakami is like what, one third the size of Paldea, or like 1/4 the size of Paldea. It's pretty big.
It is big.
But like both of those areas have the same issues. Like frame rate's bad. Like if the Switch was maybe more powerful, or if Game Freak knew how to optimize any of their video games, like the world wouldn't feel so empty.
Yep.
Yeah.
So true.
And those felt so special, I think, for me at least. Yeah, because it helped me. Like, I like to see different regions, existing or new, in the same engine. I think it helps kind of contextualize, or like makes it helps me like see the world as an actual world, like the Pokemon world, as this like giant living, breathing thing, right? You see characters from, actually, I don't think we even actually saw any Unova characters. but like they alluded to the
You
fact
definitely
that
got the
Unova
references.
exists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Clay's daughter.
Well,
Drayton.
they mention Clay, they mention Drayden.
Yeah, and then playing through Kitakami, knowing that it's inspired by a part of a Japanese Pokemon region that we haven't seen before. Still,
also-
visually,
that
I
has-
can look at it and be like,
I was one train stop away from Kitakami while I was in Japan.
"Oh, were you?" That's
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
I went up to Ichinoseki because that's the only place you can ride the Pikachu train.
Oh,
and
so
if,
cool.
Wow.
if the next stop on the bullet train after Ichinoseki was Kitakami, and I was like, I can't go there. I have too much to do today. But
It
I'm
would have
so
made a good
curious of,
selfie.
like, yeah,
Right.
of what that would have been. I am, side note of like different regions, I am jealous of Zelda fans right now because I think that when Link's Awakening came out for the Nintendo Switch, I was like, man, that looks awesome. Like I love the art style. I like the colorfulness of remaking Link's Awakening. And I think that's so cool. I have no desire to play it because I played it a million times when I was a kid. It was like one of the only like 3 games I owned for like 2 years on the Game Boy. So like I played it so much.
But it's pretty.
It is pretty. And I think it's so cool that they were like, hey, you know this engine that we built for this remake? We're going to make a brand new game with it.
Yeah.
And it's the same engine. And I wish Pokemon had that treatment. Like imagine if BDSP had a good engine and didn't look.
Well, that's yeah. This is something this is a drum I've been banging. Like I think BDSP is not at the same caliber as like that Zelda game.
Awakening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I feel like they could perfect it and just make it a little bit better and make it actually fun to play. Maybe the controls are better, and then they could just recycle that. And then again, as a consumer, as someone who likes to replay Pokemon games, I want to play all of these older games on my Switch, whether it's a port or a faithful remake.
Oh
I don't
my
really
God.
care. I'm being serious.
I guess they did that with X and Y. Like they recycled the X and Y engine for Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's like the only times they really did that, other than back in like I guess Gen 1, 2 is still it's similar, but
On Gym 4, I mean, Heart Gold and Soul Silver
Yeah.
from Diamond and
Yeah.
Pearl.
Yeah. And right now, they're not really doing that. Right now, they are creating new art styles for every single game. So I wonder, as we go into like post Legends ZA, like I wonder what the art styles are going to be, if they're going to start recycling stuff.
I'm actually very curious if Legends ZA will have like the same engine as Legends Arceus, like the same, not style, obviously, you know what I mean, but like
Yeah,
the same
the engine.
Graphical.
It could look
whatever you
different,
wanna
yeah.
call it.
I think the
Yeah.
setting obviously is so much different, so that's going to be visually different for marketing.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
that
what I
would
mean.
be art style. Could still be same engine.
That's true.
Yeah. You were saying something, Steve.
Oh, I was gonna say like they didn't recycle the engine to Gen 8, and now looking back on it, maybe Gen 8's engine was a bit more stable and a bit prettier than
Yeah.
Gen 9. But
Oh,
they were doing
Gen 8
different
is so
things, right?
pretty.
Yeah.
People
Gen
love
8's
that tree,
gorgeous.
but it's a pretty game.
Just one tree. Get over it, guys. I mean, Glimwood Tangle's gorgeous. The beginning area in Sword and Shield is genuinely one of the prettiest places in Pokemon.
Steve, how do you feel about open world Pokemon? Do you think that was successful in Scarlet and Violet?
Yeah, for the most part, I think it was successful. I don't think it was like terrible. I'm not like open world has never been like a selling point for me, though it is a selling point, right? Like I remember when
Yeah.
Legends Arceus came out, and every YouTuber, I'm not picking on you guys because I actually don't know I don't remember what you said, but every
We weren't
other
around then.
YouTuber,
Yeah, we didn't
okay.
Hey,
exist.
if you are, either way.
We're innocent.
Yeah, okay. Let me pick on everyone. But it was frustrating to see that like all these content creators, all these YouTubers, even some games journalists were like, "Oh my gosh, first open world Pokemon game." And I was like, they
It's
never
not.
said that. They never said that. And they're like, "What do you mean? Just look at it. It's open world." And I'm like, look at any open world game.
Mhm.
They will tell you it is
Yeah.
open world. It is a selling point. They are never shy about being like, this game is open world.
Yeah.
And they never said that with Legends. And because it is an open world. But that being said, I like how Legends is structured. Like it doesn't bother me
Yes.
that in order to get to the ice area, which I don't even remember what it's called, like you have to go to town.
Something Tundra.
Alabaster,
Iceland's?
something,
Yeah.
maybe.
Alabaster, yeah. Like that didn't bother me. Like I don't like going to.
The only improvement would have been like been able if you could fast travel from one point to the other
Correct,
and
yeah.
didn't have to go
yeah,
back
yeah,
to
yeah,
the
yeah,
town.
yeah.
That's the only
Instead
thing.
of go back
that
to
could be
Jumble Life
improved.
Village, wait for that loading screen,
Yeah.
then talk to the guy, then go to the next area, wait for
I
that
think-
loading screen.
Yeah, I think open
like,
world is what people think they want, when really
Yes,
they just want like a functional, just like they want to feel like it's a big world with a lot to do.
So in Paldea, like it doesn't bother me that I have to fly to the dome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then like, oh cool, I got to fly back to Paldea. Like that doesn't bother me at all. Now,
Mhm.
if the I think most Pokemon fans would be like, I hope the dome runs better.
Yeah.
But when you
Yeah.
get there, you're like, it doesn't really run any better. But
It runs
I think it runs worse.
It runs the worst, I think, of all the
Um,
places.
I feel like that's been my experience for it for sure.
so yeah,
Um,
if for whatever reason if they pivot for Gen 10 to go back to I don't know, like a Legends style thing, or even like Dome Kitakami Paldea, like that wouldn't bother me at all.
I love that you just call it Dome.
Dome, yeah.
Dome.
Dome.
The Blueberry Academy, the Indigo.
No, it's the
Festival.
Dome. I like that. Yeah, so on the subject of Gen 2, obviously, I wouldn't say that you have to have a whole region in the post game necessarily, but I do just like when they have an expansive new area to explore. Like, like with Kalos, you just have one city. That does not count for me. But like, the what is it? The fight area, I think it's called, that island at the end of Sinnoh.
Yeah.
Things like the whole Undella town area of Unova.
So
The
like
Sevi
a good
Islands.
post-game. A good
Sevi Islands for sure.
It's all
Yeah, I
post-
just want a good post game. But then also, one thing I really like about Gen 2, I don't know how popular this is, so I don't know if this will be a hot take or not. But I loved the bug catching contest.
Oh, dude,
and I wish
yes.
that they would do that. Like, why not do like a fishing contest?
Dude,
and
yes.
stuff like that. I'd love that so much.
A bird catching
It would have to
contest.
include fishing in Scarlet and Violet.
Yeah,
That doesn't
fishing
make
would
sense
have to
anymore.
come back, but
Yeah.
that's another thing I liked about these games. I liked that I could fish, and I could fish wherever I wanted. I didn't
I
have
didn't
to
even
wait
realize
for
they got
some
rid of that.
bubbles to throw a fishing rod at it.
That's crazy. But again, that's kind of like a Safari Zone. They're like different ways to interact with Pokemon with different sets of rules. The bug
Right.
catch, and it's a day of the week thing, right? So like when you're actually playing it, you're like, this is an event, right? I think a lot of these things that we're reminiscing about are actually implemented in like the monthly raid events, right? Or they are, yeah. I think that's kind of what it is. There's a lot of like, I don't know. I feel like Scarlet and Violet is a living game where they're just maintaining the online servers and they're updating all these things.
That's
Just
just like
throughout
the
the
state
year.
of games now, right? Like
Yeah.
that's what
Anymore,
a game
but-
is now.
And then also like all these
But
other
still now they're doing the Sceptile
So you
thing.
get like you get like a raid every month.
It's
Every
like every
2
week.
weeks.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Okay.
I mean, they just cycle. They let like the Sceptile will run this week, and then it will also run again the next week. But like the incentive there is not just to get a Sceptile, but to get a Sceptile with the unrivaled mark,
yeah.
or the mightiest mark, I think is what it's called.
Right.
Well, yeah, actually, Steve, that's something that you said before. I think you said it recently, and it resonated with me. You were like, I wish there was more to do that I had to do, like annoying things that I had to do throughout my Pokemon experience. And I think you were referring to like the daily events of like Pokemon Sleep. I think maybe you were talking, I was going to bring it up during Sun and Moon with the Pokepelago, how there were
Yeah.
like, I don't know.
Love
It's
the
like,
Pokepelago.
I think you just said like, I wish there was more to do.
Yeah,
Could you
I
talk
think
about that more?
I think with like, so specifically talking about Gold and Silver, you would come back to the game because there was things to do, right? Like bug catching contests on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Lapras on Friday, this on Monday. There were these, and obviously, I guess you could just like change the date. And
Yeah,
just
but-
do that.
Yes.
But you could just like mod the, you could do a lot of things.
Right. But Scarlet and Violet, I think, is close. They do have you coming back for the Mightiest Mark raids, and they do the outbreaks where it's like, okay,
Yeah.
this weekend Palafin is spawning, and I think that is great. But all of that stuff, not all of it, but it does require planning or a specific niche that you would like. Like I like doing raids, or I like catching shiny Pokemon. And I think like one of the things in X and Y that made you come back was like your berry farm, which again is something they kind of got rid of, where they had like an area where you could plant a bunch of trees and you could get mulch and you could like mutate berries, and it was actually really advanced. And I think there are probably a ton of Pokemon fans that are like, what do you mean mutate berries? Like, no, if you plant certain trees next to each other, you can get different berries and there's different mulches. It was really cool, but it gave you a reason to come back because you would plant your berries and come back and water them. And then in Sun and Moon, the thing that got you to come back was like the Poképelago. And a good example, there was a couple things in Poképelago, but the thing that stood out to me was the spa where you could dump your eggs. So I think you could do like 18 eggs, and you could just put 18 eggs, and then when you woke up the next morning, you could just check if they hatched. And it was such a passive way to do that. And I just think like Pokemon games need more of that, because not everyone is into raids, not everyone is into shiny hunting, not everyone is into berries, not everyone is into hatching eggs. But I don't know, if you hated all four of those, I'm not sure why you're playing a Pokemon game. You have to like one
for the story.
For the story.
Well, that's another thing. Like I think in the last year I've kind of realized like there are people who like the more modern games in the I guess the curation or the extra content, online content that Game Freak is like pushing out to players, like the raids, like the shiny events. But then there's a whole bunch of other players, and I'm realizing this is me. Maybe I'm just getting old, but I love to just, in a very cozy way, play through Ruby with no limitations and just like play through, like think of a team, theme, catch my Pokemon, beat the game. I've done it a million times. But I like replaying games a lot. And I don't know, Soul has expressed he's someone who just plays the more recent games. And I think Steve also, I think you would fall under that category as someone who is maintaining your current save file.
Yes. But yes.
Yeah, if I'm replaying a game, it would have to be specifically for like a reason.
Sure.
Like, I totally missed the shiny Gibble at the end of Black and White, and so now I have to, like, go back through and then build a team. And like I am still trying to finish to get the shiny charm in Black 2, White 2, but it's more so just to be like, I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I have no desire to start Black 2, White 2 over. I've played it twice, I think, so
yeah,
I got the gist of it. I like being in the current games and being able to always have something new. And again, I think if Game Freak did more with that, even like one of my worries. So remember when we were talking about how I like played the game early?
Yeah.
And I ran into like the Flamigo that had the bug type Terra, and I was like, I hope that it's not always that Flamigo and it's not always bug type Terra, because that's not exciting after the first week.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, who a year later is like, I need a bug type Flamigo. Good thing it's right here, and it's always right here. So
that's exactly what it was too.
I remember talking about it on the podcast. I was like, I hope these change like once a month or something. And they did in Sword and Shield, like they at least changed the raids every month, where it was like, it's Gigantamax Gengar this month. The next month it's going to be Gigantamax Machamp. And after that it's going to be Gigantamax Kingler.
Yeah.
And that was better than nothing. And it's very cool that they here's the Palafin outbreaks, or here's Hisuian Voltorb outbreaks. I think I posted a TikTok of like me catching a Hisuian Voltorb, and I didn't think anything of it. And like half the comments are like, "How'd you get Hisuian Voltorb in your game?" And I was like, "Oh, it was just an event. I guess you must have missed it." Like
that's true. That's true. A lot of people who aren't making content aren't locked in the same way, right?
Yeah.
Or they might miss an update.
But it's kind of like, I think this is why some people maybe think that the open world is like empty and boring. It's because seeing that Flamigo a year later is not exciting, and it feels easy. I'm not a game developer, but it feels easy to be like, hey, maybe every month we just change out some of the Pokemon.
Yeah, I think another thing, and this is kind of what you're saying, but I think another thing that kind of makes the world feel a little empty is that I don't think there's always a reason or a unique function to every single city in Paldea. Like even in Sword and Shield, when I'm playing through the Galar region, I know that there'll be specific outfits that I can only get in, Winchester, for example.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That stands out in my mind. I guess I haven't really thought of this, but that stands out in my mind. And I don't think there's many of those things in Paldea, at least, because in Paldea, it's like, the Delibird outlet or the Delibird convenience store.
That's for the items, yeah.
Yeah, or maybe so maybe what I'm saying is present in Paldea, but yeah, I think some of that variety that you can actually control and see in your game is helpful. I think so.
But that just boils down to customization options too, because Scarlet and Violet, obviously isn't exactly praised.
That's true
for its outfits. No.
That's a good point. I think we have to start cruising for time purposes. I have
wait, shiny Gyarados though. Shiny Gyarados in Gen 2.
Yeah, that's special.
Just getting a random shiny in the game, coded in all the time would be fun. I know they've done it. But
yeah, they did it in the DLC.
The Ponyta.
Yeah.
More
of that would be.
And you
awesome.
get the shiny Blitzel in
and Munchlax
hidden area.
Yeah, I did get the Munchlax. I have not gotten the Blitzel yet.
I don't think I've got either of them yet.
Yeah,
that is good though. That is fun.
They're kind of too locked behind.
It's cooler though when it is obviously this wasn't the case with Gyarados, but shinies were new when Gen 2 came out. So getting a shiny Gyarados was like getting a new Mon in that regard, because you couldn't get a shiny Gyarados before.
And it's
but it would be cooler if say instead of that shiny Ponyta, which I still think is really cool that they did that, they had done a shiny Teddy Ursa, so you can now get a shiny Ursaluna or whatever. It'd be cooler if Gen 10 there's a shiny Gen 10 Mon, not a shiny Munchlax that I've had for 20 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, not to mention that Ursaluna is still shiny locked. Blood Moon
is, yeah.
But it's a shiny Munchlax with a mark.
Yeah,
that's true. That is true. So I guess the Blitzel's the better example.
Steve, so I again, maybe I'm fanboying a little bit, but yeah. So I listen to your show, and you've talked about that the marks can be really a huge incentive to keep replaying and keep getting those encounters. It's another level of shiny hunting. I would push back a little bit because I love the idea of the marks, but to me, because I can't see any physical difference in battle or when I'm interacting with the Pokemon outside of the stat screen, I can't care about it the same way. Yeah, you can see that line of text. You can see the line of text.
Line of text.
Yeah.
But it's like,
if for me, watching
it doesn't
a competitive match, I pay attention to that. I'm like,
right.
that Fluttermane is like Misty Mark Fluttermane.
Respect.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
I think the marks did solve a problem that a very niche amount of Pokemon fans wanted, which was I want shiny hunting to be harder, which is a weird thing to ask for because there's nothing hard about turning on and off your Switch 8,000 times.
Right.
The patience. It's difficult for some of us.
But I think some people want that. I get it. They want some sort of recognition, or they want somebody to be like, man, that's crazy. I can't believe you did that. I guess I'm not seeking that in life, but I have a shiny coughing from Pokemon Crystal. It took me 10,000 encounters.
And you've got that little icon that says it's from Pokemon Crystal.
Yeah, the little Game Boy icon. Yeah, and then I have shiny. I have 7 shiny coughings from Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee, and I have 3 shiny coughings in Pokemon Go. I know to me that coughing took a lot longer in Pokemon Crystal because I did it. But if somebody was like, "Hey, do you have a shiny coughing?" They're not going to be like, "Oh man, not the Crystal one. That one's significantly more rare." To them, they just want a shiny coughing.
That's
right?
a really good point.
So I kind of think the same thing as the marks, right? No one really cares about your accomplishments.
Right.
I'm not going to update my LinkedIn profile to be I got 3,000 shinies in Pokemon Go, right? I have 600 shinies in Sun and Moon. No one really cares, but I think there is that there is that I want to set a goal for myself. I think I would compare it to going hiking and climbing this huge mountain, right? You could climb that mountain with tennis shoes and get to the top, and people are gonna be like, "That was crazy. Why didn't you buy a set of hiking boots? You're out of your mind. Your feet must be bloody."
Sure.
But you could do it either way, right? And then there are some people that are like, man, that mountain look good. That mountain looks tall. Glad you climbed it. I'm not going to. Like, it's very similar.
That's like, no, I like that. And I think also maybe like, so like I'm saying like it would be nice if there was a visual indication of the mark, but maybe it actually makes more sense. And Game Freak's mindset is like, just keep shinies simple and iconic. And then like what you're saying, if you want that challenge, it's there for you. To achieve.
And no one's gonna take that away from you. Yeah. It's kind of cynical to say. It's just like not a lot of people care that you climbed that mountain or you got that shiny. But like I think the marks did solve the problem of like wanting quote unquote a rarer shiny, right? Like even if you had the shiny charm, like a 1 in 1365 shiny with a mark is statistically rarer than a 1 in 8,000 shiny.
Yeah. That's a good point.
And depending on the mark, it could even be more rare, but like it solves that problem, whether or not people can. I don't think a lot of people have warmed up to marks, especially when I like I'll post something on like TikTok and they'll be like, I only care that's a different color. I don't care about the mark, which I get, but like it took a long time for people to warm up to shinies. They've existed for a long time. And I really think that Pokemon Go helped like push shinies more into like the mainstream and get people to care.
Yeah, I agree. I could see that.
Yeah, I think too, like there is a lot that marks add, because I'm the kind of person that I don't, like you said, I don't really care about marks. It's not my thing. But like in a way, I have had some enjoyment with them in the sense that like I transferred up my already IVDV Duraludon from Sword and Shield to evolve it. And then I realized that I actually beat the Battle Tower in Sword and Shield with it. So now I have Archaludon, the Tower Master, which is kind of cool given what that Pokemon is based on. But like,
the ribbons are
and
cool.
then like the Citadel I used in my playthrough of Scarlet and Violet is, I didn't know it until after I'd caught it, but it was like the Gourmet, so that felt cool. My Galarian Articuno had a mark, and I wasn't hunting it, but like it had it, and
that's another.
Even though I don't hunt marks,
it's
kind of like, oh, that's a nice thing I have. And
I guess the first implementation were the natures, right? Like the nature, when they introduced natures, that's literally a personality indicator.
Well, but see, the issue with that though is like that. You were talking about it having a battle functionality.
Yeah.
The issue with that though is like, it's not fun if I have a mild, Sceptile, because that means my Sceptile sucks.
Like
I need a timid Sceptile, But I think too, it also not only does it make you have the option to go for a rare shiny, but you also have you just have more personable shinies. Because like, okay, sure,
it's
I have a
personalized.
shiny Wheezing the Gourmet, but that person has a shiny Wheezing the Sociable, so it's
all of my Pokemon are introverted and a little clumsy. I think that's my team usually. All right, let's start cruising because I think we are running up on time already.
My bad.
Let's go. So in Pokemon Emerald and in the Gen 3 games, I think the customizable secret bases are super fun, and that's like Pokedolls. That's always kind of been an element in Pokemon since even Gen 2.
Oris made it better too.
Oris did make it better, but I think that's something that could be like, I don't know. I feel like I play Pokemon like a cozy game. I just want to like just putter around and like catch things and then like collect things, and I don't want to think about battling that often, right? And I think the secret bases is something that should just be stapled in at least one game every generation because it's so much fun.
Love battling. Bro.
Yeah.
You mean you didn't like in BDSP that you could have a room and then just put useless statues in?
I tried it. I didn't
I
get
can
it.
have a shrine to Bidoof.
Yeah, this
in
is my bed. This Snorlax statue is my bed. It's made of metal, but I love it. I don't know if you guys have any other Gen 3 features.
I didn't play Gen 3.
Absolutely I do. Battle Frontier.
Yeah,
10
I knew
out of
someone
10.
was going to say it.
That was mine, because I don't know.
Was yours? Yeah.
No, I don't have one. I didn't play, so
We're on the same. Yeah, he didn't play Gen 3, so shame him for that. The Battle Frontier, I mean, it doesn't even have to be the Hoenn Battle Frontier. Just the idea of there being different facilities where, like, all your Pokemon are set to level 50 and the opposing Pokemon are level 50. So it's a bit more strategy-based and you can't just steamroll it with level 100s. That's a lot of fun. The idea that the Frontier allows for multiple facilities so that you can kind of create a different challenge, like maybe all your Pokemon are rentals, or maybe you randomize if one of your Pokemon gets burned before the battle or something. That was all a lot of fun. And then I also think too,
just on that, I think the Battle Frontier is a lot of fun also because and kind of iconic because of the metal. They're called medals or the
symbols. Yeah.
The symbols that you would get. In a lot of ways, that functions like more gym badges.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what I think was shown off in the anime as well. So
yeah.
I think there's like a legacy or like this dream of the Battle Frontier, and I think it's more closely tied to those symbols and what that means versus the newer Battle Frontiers that are just kind of like, I don't know, you just battle a bunch of Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, either way though, like it's a little upsetting that like they completely removed any kind of battle facility where like again all your mons are set to level 50 and it's strategy focused, not level focused. From Scarlet and Violet, like at least Sword and Shield had the restricted sparring and the battle tower, but Scarlet and Violet had nothing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people miss that in Sword and Shield. There was the dojo stuff, which you like you have to lock in like 3 fairies, and then what you're fighting is completely random. So
yeah,
like you could just get completely destroyed if like they started off with like a poison Pokemon, and then like you'll come back in and they'll be like, oh cool, they have fighting Pokemon. I'm super effective here. I think they did try to do anything. It's funny because I'll bring that up to people. Like, oh, did you do the dojo stuff? There's like 18 very unique battles. You like literally have to EV train them and everything. And people be like, I had no clue that was even there.
Yeah.
And it's like a bummer because they'll ask for the Battle Frontier.
Yeah.
They'll be like, I wish the battle. And they'll be like, oh, did you do the dojo stuff? I'm like, no, I didn't even. It's like,
right.
Wasn't there an interview like 5 years ago where one of the leaders at Game Freak mentioned that like they're checking they have our player data
at this point.
What is it?
It was like 10 years ago at this point, but they were like, no one played the Battle Frontier, so that's why we
That's
cut
crazy.
it. That's literally what he said.
That's nuts.
Dang.
So it must have been the player data from
me.
oh no, they cut it from ORAS. How would they even find that out then if it's a GBA game? Like how would they know?
They could have with Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Check that Battle Frontier.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, Gen 3 had a couple ways. You could send your game in to get it updated, and so they could pull the data from that. There was if you traded with somebody else, it could update.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You
know what?
Go to like a Toys R Us or something, and like they'll update it there for you.
I do have a lot of. This is anecdotal, but I do have a lot of memories of like finding my friends. Like I'm like, oh, you have a Game Boy. Like, oh, you have Ruby version. Like, let me see your team. And they're like, oh, I haven't played it in a year. And it's like they're not even past like Gym 3 or something, right? I feel like I have a lot of anecdotal memories.
And then they're not your friend anymore.
No, I just wonder. I'm like, how many? I wonder how many people are as obsessive and finish the game.
True of like a lot of games. Like I always think of the Pokemon player who plays through the game, gets to credits, and then they're done. And they're completely satisfied with their $60, $40 purchase or $60 purchase, depending on what console, I guess.
Yeah.
But if you were to like look at like Xbox achievements or like PlayStation achievements, even like with Elden Ring just came out, and in order to access the DLC, you have to beat like one boss. His name is like Moog, I think, the Blood Warrior or something. And like 80% of people have never beaten him.
Wow.
And
yeah, I saw that actually.
It's like this game's been out for 2 years, and like in order to access this DLC, you have to beat him. And like before this DLC came out, 4 out of 5 people just never beat him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That's
it's
he is optional. He's not like a story boss, but like
that makes it even more weird, honestly. That like they lock it behind an optional. I mean, I don't know nothing about this game, but right.
But like the whole thing in Elden Ring is like the bosses are what you're there for, right?
Yeah.
It's like catching a Pokemon. Like, oh, you caught everything but Liepard. Like, oh, you battled everyone, but
imagine that's the credential. That's like when you go to battle Brock and they're like, you don't have a grass type. You're like, I don't need one.
My Charmander learned Metal Claw. It's Fire Red.
Yeah.
I do like obviously it needs a lot of work, and I feel like every game that it appeared in, it had gotten worse. But I like the idea of contests. I like this idea of use your Pokemon in a completely different way. Now, obviously, like, you know, Ruby, Sapphire, Emerald contests, they're fun. Diamond, Pearl contests, they were fun. Oris contests, not so much. And then Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl contests were horrible, in my opinion. But
I was gonna say, in your opinion,
in my opinion,
because maybe other people think that.
but I like the idea of like a challenge for your Pokemon that aren't battle focused, and that's cool too because like you don't need to IV EV your Pokemon and all this stuff to become, the contest master.
Yeah. I wonder if that's another one of those things where Game Freak were thinking, no one's playing this. We're not going to spend resources on it. We're already
Maybe
that could have been one of those things.
If they made it like the anime though, which I feel like wouldn't be too terribly hard to implement if they could sit down and just think for a moment.
It's just like a battle. It's a battle, but like there's different effects that are preset or something.
So if they did that, I feel like you would have people who would play their game to Hard Home City and then stop playing their game because they're at the contest hall. That's all they wanted,
I think it just it ties into the idea of like having options in a Pokemon game to not just battle, I guess. But yeah, Steve, maybe you made a good point. Like if you don't like the 4 core things about a Pokemon game, maybe you don't like Pokemon games. But another option. I think it's important to think about the way people enter the franchise, and if they enter through the anime, for example, there's so much more than just those like maybe
just
core 3 things.
More.
Yeah, or at least when I watched the anime when I was younger. I don't know. So
I think the one thing that Pokemon has done really well in the last couple of generations, I think it started probably closer to Sun and Moon, was like getting you to care about catching Pokemon.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what helped was the Dex Cut. I know the Dex Cut didn't technically start until Sword and Shield, but like if you wanted the Shiny Charm in X and Y, that was like 689 Pokemon or something you had to catch.
Right.
And then Auras was, I think, a little bit more. And in Sun and Moon, you just needed 380, and then I think Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, you needed like 400.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And how they like break down the Pokedex and like where to get it. And again, I'm going to bring up Pokemon Go, but I think Pokemon Go was very influential in getting people to care about catching Pokemon, because that's kind of all you could do for the first like 2 years in Pokemon Go was to catch. Mm-hmm. And I remember like even like 10 years ago playing through X and Y for the first time and talking about it on the podcast. I think I beat that game and my Pokedex was like 11 caught.
Yeah.
Because it was like you just caught the thing that looked cool, and then you continue. Like, I don't need another fire Pokemon. I have a Talonflame. Why would I catch this Litleo? Like
Legends Arceus was fun for that. I'm trying to think of the games. I guess Let's Go did it.
Well, Legends and
Let's
Go forced you to. Yeah. Like you could not progress if you didn't get it.
I think that was good for the franchise overall to kind of get you to care about. There are probably some people that are like, I played through all of Crystal with just my Feraligatr. I didn't catch anything.
I think I did that with my Typhlosion. Yeah. No, but
like, there's no wrong way to play, but I think that they did need to get people to care about catching again.
Yeah.
And I think that they have indirectly or involuntary like made people care. Maybe no, it was like they definitely put work into it. Like they did, they made people care.
They brought back the "Gotta Catch 'Em All" logo or tagline for a while.
That was Gen 6. Yeah, they brought it back because between X, Y, and Oris, the Gen 6 games, between all 4 of the Gen 6 games, you could catch every Pokemon up to date. I guess except for the mythicals, you had to get those from a mystery gift.
Yeah, I think catching definitely is fun. I have memories of like in Gen 6 specifically, for the first time catching everything. That's when I first finished, like got a living dex, and it was fun to like nickname every single Pokemon I caught. I go, oh, I'm doing this today, or I'm in college and this is happening, so this is making me think of this, and I do that in every game now still. To one, it's kind of like I put it on myself because it kind of lets me enjoy the game for a little bit longer. There's an end goal there, but it's fun. I think it is fun. It helps me actually like interact. It forces me in a way to interact with every Pokemon, even the ones I don't like, right? Even the ones I would never catch again, I'm gonna catch them again. I'm gonna go out of my way to interact with this game in all the ways that I can. So I like catching the different Pokemon. And then I think you're right. And then it's like you end up with a mark that you didn't intend for. Some of them are caught in a different ball. If they're at a quick ball, you
might even find a
them.
shiny that you didn't intend to find.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's true.
Some could be big.
Yeah, that's there's
that's honestly so good.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, the fact that the Pokemon you can see their different sizes in the overworld is so good. So
yeah.
Good. Here we go. We got
Steve, do you have anything that stands out to you in Gen 3 that like you think kind of tops it off?
I mean, like Gen 3 did the thing that I think mattered the most to me, which is like the double battles.
Sure.
Yeah, that's true. It did introduce that. Yeah.
And they've kept with that, so I've been very So there's no complaint there. I'm not huge on secret bases, but I totally get and appreciate why people like those. And
it would give me another thing to spend my money on, you know? It's like if there's all these items in the overworld, I want to buy the Pokédolls. I want to bring them into my room.
Sure.
You mean your in-game money? I thought you were like asking
money.
for mainline Pokemon game to become gacha. I'm like, no.
No, I honestly, I don't. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm gonna jump to Gen 5 because my Gen 4 one was
4.
No, I don't hate it. My Gen 4 one was where is it? I like headbutting trees. I like the honey trees. I like all these like new. It's like fishing, right? There's new encounter tables, in again ways to capture or encounter different Pokemon. I think that's always really
I like
cool.
specifically Munchlax with the honey trees.
Yeah, and then I mean that goes into Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire with the soaring, right? That's another way to encounter Pokemon. Dexnav is another way to get interact with Pokemon. Pokemon, what is it? The Pokepelago. You can even encounter Pokemon there. That idea of just having new ways that feel immersive to the specific location, to the specific region, is a lot of fun for me. But to jump to Gen 5, Seasons. I think Seasons could be really cool. I don't know how they would do it. I don't know how big of a developmental, I don't know how much work that is. But we have the day and night cycle, which adds a lot of immersion. And then I think the Seasons could be even cooler. Because what that does is essentially, like, if you're going to beat the game in a couple weeks, again, I'm thinking of like single playthroughs. Every time you go to replay a Pokemon game, it's going to be a completely different game depending on which season you're playing in, right? Winter versus summer versus fall.
Completely different.
Well, no, but it'll feel different, right?
I mean, the world is different looking.
Yeah.
You know, I see what you mean. And I mean, there's some things like you can access items you can't, or little areas you couldn't before. So we want to give a special shout out to our patron and YouTube member supporters. Specifically, we want to shout out our mythical tier supporters: Trash Panda, Indiana Jenkins, Ryan Stoll, Candace Wendy's, Case, Coronet Highlander, Sully the Skeleton, Pokey Kid, and Chris Mims. That is a lot of names, which is crazy. We want to give an extra special shout out to our Arceus tier supporters: Young Smokey, Hayes, and SEHR Gold. And lastly, we want to give a Gigantamax size shout out to our Game Freak Inc. level supporters: Drogain, Bramtastic, and Harley Setzer. There's a new name in there too, which
Dude,
is
what's
so
going
cool.
on? We love you guys so much. You guys are just cooking. The support is insane, guys. The support is insane.
It's literally hard to think of like how to express my gratitude. Like I'm trying to, and I'm just tripping over my words. I'm in awe. I'm spepeechless.
And here's the thing: we don't even have 10,000 subscribers, right? And there's so many of you beyond the people that we've even mentioned, who support us every single week, who tune in every single week. We love it. We love it so much.
I mean, we have 2 other tiers that we didn't even mention. And then even aside from that, we have our viewers, we have our commenters, because commenting, liking, all that, it helps YouTube push our video. So, I mean, all of it is so appreciated, and so it's needed. It's all very much needed for a YouTube channel.
And honestly, it's been so impactful that Soul actually moved back to the States. He's back in the States this week.
He's here.
So,
impactful.
I missed that door, Soul.
I missed that black curtain right next to that white door hitting at the unit.
Do you have the mask, Soul? Do you have the mask?
Yeah, it's here.
Nice. I honestly haven't seen it in a while. I love that.
It's still just chilling.
I love it. But yeah, if you guys want to support the channel, if you want to have your name read, you can follow the links in the description to either become a Patreon or a YouTube channel member. And there's a whole bunch of perks. Actually, we got some new perks even cooking up in the private secret Discord that you can get access to. I'll get to that in a minute, but obviously you also unlock bonus episodes of the podcast. We call this Secret Power. Every single guest that we have on, and sometimes just solo, will record a regular episode and then record another 30 to 60 minutes of bonus content. This episode that you're watching today, there actually is another episode on, there should be like another 30 minutes with Steve on available to patrons only. But you also get access to the secret Discord, as I was saying. We do a bunch of private stuff there. And Lumi, you want to tell the people what we've been cooking up? There's a new battle league.
Yeah, so we're currently, it's still being developed. We're still working out all the
details.
Specifics, the details. Yeah. But we are currently building a league. So gyms, Elite Four member, and a champion. Which is a lot of fun.
So if you join, you can become you can either challenge this league, or I think there's a way for you to actually end up working your way up in the ranks to become a gym leader, to become an Elite Four member. You might even be able. You're gonna have a shot to become a champion.
Yeah, I mean, if you take on the league, if you take on the gyms, you get your 8 badges. You beat the Elite Four. You beat the champion. Well, guess what? You're now the champion at the end of the Elite Four.
And guess what? You're looking at 2 of the Elite Four members right now. Me and Lumi.
Yo.
It ain't me.
It ain't Soul. Because Soul doesn't
Soul's
battle.
the guy in the cave you battle at the end of the game.
Yeah, he's the Steven Stone. Yeah, but
the red.
But we got a lot of stuff cooking up in the Discord. I think what else we're doing? Oh, I think actually next week we're going to be doing a. We should probably promote that.
Well, we say that next week, but will it be next week when this is out?
Sure. Yeah. Basically, what we like to do is do Patreon or YouTube channel members. So Discord only Q&As is what that is. Mm-hmm. And you can have an opportunity to call into the show, chat with us live, and then that's gonna be a ton of fun. You'll actually end up on the main channel. When that episode goes public.
So it's cool. You catch an episode live early, and then you are part of that episode.
You get to be part of the show
as it goes up later,
Yeah, so anyways. We love you guys so much. Thank you for everyone who's been supporting us week to week. We are literally in the midst of a dry period in not only in the year, but in Pokemon in general. We might not even be getting a game at the end of the year.
We're not.
But you guys are.
We're not.
Yeah, but you guys are keeping us going. So we love you guys.
We're going.
Yeah, we're cooking. So we love you guys. Thank you so much. Now back to the episode with Steve. What were you saying, Steve?
Yeah, I think like these, like the day and night cycles and the seasons and events being on like Friday night. I think they're so cool, but they just break the instant you just go into your system settings and you're like,
that is true. That is true.
But when you see those in other games like Pokemon Go or Pokemon Sleep, like you can't manipulate that. Well, I'm sure if you jailbroke your device, you could.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
But like when there is like a Halloween event in Pokemon Sleep or Pokemon Unite or Pokemon Masters,
you gotta act on it.
Yeah, it's like there. It's like, okay, it's here for 2 weeks. So and Animal Crossing has a little bit of that, but again, with Animal Crossing, you can move the clock.
Yeah.
But like Animal Crossing is like, oh my gosh, it's winter now. New fish, like new items in the store. Like I can build a snowman. Like that stuff, I think players do really want, myself included, and like appreciate. But then there's that whole other set of, I'm just gonna move my clock.
Yeah.
And
I wonder if there's a way to prevent that. Like if you could make the game tied to your time zone, even if your Switch isn't. You know what I mean?
I think there is, because there was something, I don't even remember if it was a Pokemon game, but somebody somewhere blocked some people from changing the time on their Switch. I think maybe Animal Crossing, actually, which is funny that I name dropped that twice in this. But yeah, if you change your time, sometimes it doesn't work. I don't know.
In
Not enough
BDSP,
information.
if you change your clock, Julia, the person who will give you the daily ribbon, she will not give you a ribbon for, I think it's 48 hours after you change your clock.
Wow.
Yeah, see, so
Ah.
there's like a penalty to it. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe,
Animal
you know,
Crossing
That's
always did
what you
have
do
that
if you
penalty.
change your clock. You go on your game and it just crashes and it's done. Your save file's gone.
Yeah,
Oh,
that'd be
God.
hilarious.
I
Then
don't
no
know
one will
about
no one will change their time.
Yeah.
I also think again, these are like really like probably 90% of the people have no clue who Julia is, who I just brought up.
I don't know
I
who
think
that is.
yeah, she's in
She's
in the city
she's
with
the foot fanatic, the foot ribbon
no,
woman.
no. She
Is
has
she
a
Sunny
ribbon
Shore?
every
It might be a man.
She's in the ribbon with she's in the city with Volkner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like sure.
Yeah. But if you change your clock on X and Y, for like X and Y or was it Sun and Moon? Those games have diamond dust. And so
Oh,
if you
yeah.
change your clock and you don't wait a full 24 hours, the diamond dust won't actually spawn. But again, like that's like I guess that would suck on your birthday if you're expecting to see diamond dust and you're like, I just
Yeah.
changed my clock.
I think
But,
the
like,
bigger
doesn't-
issue here, like you're
Doesn't remove
bringing
anything.
yeah. You're bringing up all these like great like logistical issues, and I think another big logistical issue is that like these Pokemon games are really leaning towards like the fact that they come out yearly. Maybe not. I mean, I guess not this year, but that they usually come out every single year. They feel more like content rather than like a singular artistic or I guess like I don't know. People talk about like we're literally talking about an ultimate Pokemon game, right? I don't think this is actually in a lot of ways achievable. I don't think anymore this is something we even could expect because when the game comes out, they're going to want to push the next game a couple months later. And I think what I'm thinking about is like, you know, when we look towards Generation 10 and the 30th year anniversary, there have been some people, and maybe for a long time, who have speculated, oh, wouldn't it be great if we get what is it called? Like an MMO type of Pokemon game, a game that's like living forever. Like it's like Skyrim or like a GTA Online or something. It's like they're going to give us one
Fortnite.
Pokemon game that just exists for the next 5 years. And I don't think that's going to happen. It could.
No.
No
way.
Yeah, I'm
I don't-
not expecting
I don't
that.
think
I don't even
so,
think I
just for,
want
like,
that necessarily.
I think
Business
they have their living game right now, and whether people like it or not, it's Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
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 No,
It's
you're
8
right.
Years. Like it will make it to 10.
Yeah.
I don't see why it wouldn't make it past 10 at this point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
How many years has
Niantic's
it
not a great. It's 8 years next week.
Wow.
That's a lot.
Didn't-
Wow.
Didn't this is only loosely related, but didn't Niantic also try to make like a Harry Potter one and it like did not work out?
Oh, yeah, they
I
did.
think-
Don't know.
Harry Potter lasted, I think, for 4 years.
Oh, that's a lot longer than I thought. I do remember
Yeah, I think
someone
but
going
I-
like this.
I remember hearing about it for a month. You know what I mean?
But I think
There's
that
the
was
Pikmin game too.
Pikmin is still going super strong. I'm not as strong as Pokemon Go because Pikmin is not nearly like Pikmin is not
Yeah.
even a huge like Nintendo franchise, but
Right.
Pikmin is really, really popular in Japan. So Pikmin's like one of those games where even if like every American stopped playing it, like Pikmin Bloom would still be fine because like
Nice.
Japan loves Pikmin.
Gotcha.
I think the Harry Potter thing was more so like legal stuff with WB and like money
Oh.
and
Okay.
licensing. Of like this, like our play, like we don't have enough players, and your licensing fees are too ridiculous.
Yeah.
And what if we just like sunset this game?
Well, it makes sense too, because I don't know a lot about Pikmin, but I know Pokemon is at its heart a collecting and catching game. So it makes, you know, when I think Pokemon, I think catching Pokemon. When I think Harry Potter, I don't think catching Harry Potter creatures, you know? So,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, they do exist.
If they made the game about
collecting.
jelly beans, that'd be pretty good.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
a deep
because
cut
like-
Harry Potter
yeah.
episode 1 from
No, I-
20 years ago of my memory.
That's all
Anyways.
you.
So yeah, seasons would be cool. That probably is a lot of work. But I think seasons.
World Tournament.
Yeah, the World Tournament's cool. That honestly, I think I like the World Tournament more than the Battle Frontier because of those recurring characters.
Sure.
That's what I care about. I want to see existing characters in the modern engine and make the whole world feel like connected. you know?
Well, and maybe I'm a dork. In fact, I know I'm a dork. I just don't know if this is my being a dork showing. But with the World Tournament, it was always cool too because like it was a bracket style tournament, and sure you're going up against Giovanni,
Yeah.
but you can kind of just see like Lieutenant Surge versus Erica. And it's just you don't see that match, but it's like cool, kind of cool in your head to think like,
Yeah.
oh
Like,
wow,
what's-
Lieutenant Surge is battling Erica right now.
Yeah,
It's
what was
kinda
that
neat,
interaction
you know?
like? Do
But
they have beef?
I mean, that's stupid. There's no way that Game Freak's like making their decisions around that. But
That's just like headcanon, you know. You see it once, you're like, there's a story there. Yeah, Steve, what are we doing on time?
I probably like 15, 20 minutes.
Okay. I don't think we're gonna get to this whole list. So, just looking at maybe now that we've reached Gen 5, looking towards the 3D era.
modern era.
Yeah. What are some features that stand out to you guys? I think that
7.
the PSS is something that people love from
Oh
X
yeah,
and
people
Y.
always talk about that.
Steve, do you have any insight on why we didn't get such a simple, functional, reliable online feed?
Dual screen's a big part of it, right?
Maybe.
Or the lack of, rather.
Yeah, I feel like my opinion is like Game Freak has tried to make the online experience as simple as possible to the point where it's too simple.
Yeah.
Like when you think about like Scarlet and Violet, you connect to that like bulletin board and you can see the raids that you can join in, but there's like no refresh button, which is like crazy to me of like, well, what like as a hardcore player, like I don't need any of these raids. I would like to refresh and do something else, and that doesn't even exist. And I also like it just doesn't work, right? Like you'll be like, let me join this Embor raid, and then it'll just be spinning and spinning and spinning, and then it'll be like raid not found, and it kicks you out.
And then it reloads,
So-
I think.
Then it reloads. Yeah, then it reloads. So I think there's probably this balance of like we want more people to go online, but we don't want it to be too confusing. So
Sure.
we're gonna dumb it down, and that like
Interesting. Do you think that's why the the global, what is it even called? Like all the online
GTS.
Yeah, the GTS was moved to Pokemon Home on mobile only. That's in line with what you're saying.
I think the GTS was more of a like every Pokemon is over here, and we know that every Pokemon's not going to be in
Sure.
the game. But like even me, who's played so much of X and Y, like I remember opening up the PSS like 2 months ago and being like, I can't remember how to use this. Like,
Yeah.
there's like
Yeah.
so much happening on the bottom screen.
It's true.
And what was it called in Sun and Moon?
Festival Plaza.
Festival Plaza, which people hated, but I understand why
Horrible, I
people
hated
hated
it.
it.
It's a 3D
because-
version of the PSS.
but it had like a learning curve to it.
Yeah.
And like once
And you
I
could like
spent,
level it up.
Yeah, you could level it up, which was really cool. So like once you realize, I can level it up, I can customize it, I can do all this stuff. Like you had to like watch a YouTube video to be like, how do I
Yeah.
use this thing? And like once you got it, it made sense. But I totally understood. Like again, I think of the average player of somebody who just plays through, gets the credits, finishes the game, doesn't come back. Like they don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. Well, it's also annoying too because like Sun and Moon, you already are sitting through 24 hours worth of exposition, and then you're like, oh, finally, I'm past all this. I can trade now, and you get on there, and then it's like 3 more hours of exposition about Festival Plaza.
It's so real.
So I think they went too far with Sword and Shield and Paldea and like dumbed it down too much. But if their goal is to get more people to connect to the internet, which makes sense for like raids and stuff, maybe at least on their end it worked to getting more people to play.
Is there an online feature that you think should exist that doesn't? Because when I was looking through all the features that they've added, I was like, oh, I forgot that Wonder Trade wasn't a thing, and that's a fun feature.
It is on home. Is it on home?
Yeah, it's on
Wonder Trade's
home.
Yeah.
Wonder Trade's still on the main games. It's called Surprise Trade now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
I mean, you're just getting Pokemon from Zacian.net at that point.
yeah,
That is true. Yeah, that's the downside. You're getting just a bunch of shiny Koraidons.
Or
And
like,
now that
.com.
there's less and less players doing raids, just because the game is like a year and a half old. people run into more like hacked shiny raids.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't think there are more people doing hacked shiny raids. I think there are just less and less people doing normal raids. So you just happen to stumble upon them more often, which is like, I don't know, for some people, I'm sure that's like exciting for them because they're like, oh, I got a shiny Knackley or whatever.
Yeah.
But
you're like, I didn't cheat for it. It's purified once it enters my game.
It's still passing the hack checks.
Yeah.
Not if its name is that though.
Yeah, that's true.
But I do think, you know, when you think of these like pillars of Pokemon, like catching, breeding, trading, contest, I think raids is like something that has to like stay to me.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going anywhere.
Like I think it's such it feels like it's such a integral part of the Pokemon universe at this point.
And that was something that was also introduced through Go. Actually, I think the creator said it was.
Well, they said they were doing it alongside. Yeah. Like it wasn't. Connected.
Just Go came first, but they were the ones that like. It just took them longer to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is great to see that something new can really be championed by the company. You know, in the games. That's kind of cool to think that that kind of innovation can stick. Yeah.
And I liked the outbreaks too.
Yeah, outbreaks are great. And like Dusty said, like I don't like battling. And I totally get why somebody wouldn't like battling. Like EVs, IVs, natures, that's all super confusing. And like lowering that barrier to entry with, hey, I can battle alongside my friends and my friends know what they're doing and they're going to help me along. And we got this Charizard taken down. Like that's such a cool feeling.
Yeah.
I just wish that there was like new Pokemon or ones that you can't access or something. I know like we talked about the marks forever. That's a good point. But to me, like the thing that would make me really want to do a raid is a Pokemon that I cannot normally access. Like maybe it's not
like Iron Leaves.
Dex. Yeah.
Walking Wake,
exactly.
Right?
That's the only raid I've ever done was the Walking Wake Iron Leaves raids.
Okay.
That's it. Because I need them. I want them. I want to collect those things.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it can't be every raid.
For some reason.
I get it can't be every raid.
I always judge the popularity of raids just based on how my YouTube videos do. That's
fair. That makes sense.
Go figure. What was the most popular one? It was Greninja. Like Greninja is literally one of the most popular Pokemon. And then when like Chestnut came out, like no one watched my Chestnut video. It's because like people
400 views. Yeah.
But like the one video that surprised me that I almost didn't even make a video because it wasn't a 7-star raid. It was a 5-star raid. It was Dialga and Palkia. That video did so well, and it wasn't even like a super tough raid, but people were just so excited to do a legendary raid and get a Dialga and Palkia.
Yeah.
Which again, as a hardcore player, I'm like, I have like 40 Dialga and Palkia. Like, It's not that exciting to me, but like,
yeah.
But that raid in particular was exciting to people, so I'm sure there will be more. Like I'm sure eventually, like I bet if they did a Namorous, like people would lose their minds for that.
Yeah.
Or shiny, like shinies that are not available, something.
Yeah, the shiny giveaways are always super fun. They're simple and it doesn't really do anything, but it is fun to be like, oh, here's a free shiny. I think it was the Arcanine was one of the last ones I got. But like if that shiny is hidden away behind a raid, I'll do the raid for that. That'd be fun.
Mm-hmm. Like I still will. The running joke of my podcast is I've been saying for the last year and a half that they will do a shiny Rayquaza raid.
Oh yeah,
because it ties in with the anime.
Yeah.
And if you're thinking of like what is the most popular legendary Pokemon, like it's Mewtwo. They already did Mewtwo. And if you look at Pokemon Go, what is the most raidable Pokemon in Pokemon Go? It's Rayquaza. They're bringing Rayquaza back in like 2 weeks because it's their biggest moneymaker because people love Rayquaza.
Oh, let's go.
So
I would love one of those.
If you're like, what is the legendary Pokemon that would bring back people to Scarlet and Violet? Like, it's for sure Rayquaza. And why would you not make it shiny when like that's the huge focus of the anime right now?
So true.
Really they even, I don't know like how much the anime y'all watch, but they even like that was a big point in the anime was that they had a raid battle against it. So like,
is that what happened?
Yeah, like it was the guy with the Surreal Edge, Freed with his Charizard, Liko and Roy against Rayquaza. Cool.
They haven't revealed Rayquaza's Terra type yet? Like it is terrestrialized in the anime, but they
Yeah.
haven't
doesn't have a
said
hat.
what it is. Yeah, it doesn't have a hat.
Seems like it's
I like
stellar.
assumed stellar, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like it's
seems
stellar.
very stellar.
That'd be cool.
Which we haven't had a stellar raid yet in the game, and I can't imagine they're good. I can't imagine they're going to end Scarlet and Violet without a 7-star stellar raid.
Wow.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll do like stellar shining Koraidon and stellar shining Miraidon. That seems like a
No, that's just
cool
GameStop.
way to do it. That's just GameStop, yeah.
that's just we'll get you into GameStop real quick to get that.
So we got to talk about Pokemon Legends ZA at least once. What features from either Scarlet and Violet or Legends Arceus do you think will actually carry over?
Or just that you can come up with.
Yeah, I think a big question we're trying to figure out, and we won't know until we get gameplay or maybe even play the game, is like what features define a Legends game? Because obviously there's a series here, and obviously there's going to be some things that carry over, but we don't know what that is.
There's only one.
Yeah, there's no pattern, there's no nothing. There's just one game.
Oh, there is a pattern if you include Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee.
Okay. Yeah.
I forgot that you're like one that believes this. I totally believe this as well, that it was like
Yes.
a precursor kind of thing, or like the first one.
Yeah, it's why I didn't believe in like the Legends like title, because like
They
if
changed
it was
it
called
once.
anything, right? If it was called anything else, I would still see the pattern of like Let's Go Legends and then ZA.
It just has to
But
start
you
with an
don't need-
L. That's the pattern.
But I do like and I could be completely wrong, and that's cool. If Legends comes out and it's not like
It's a
Let's
theory.
Go or right, yeah. But I think of it in the sense of like Mario games where there's 2D Mario and there's 3D Mario, and
Yeah.
they're both main series Mario games, right? Like no one's saying like Mario Odyssey is not a main series because it's not
Right.
2D or vice versa. And I think that way with like Pokemon now, where like Let's Go and Legends are much more catching and putting battling on the back burner.
Right.
And then the other games are, kind of everything, where more hardcore, maybe you could even say. And so if I subscribe to my own theory, then like Legends ZA would be a very catching focus game, not really battle intensive. I mean, like Legends has like 7 battles in it, and like 4 are against Volo, and his Togepi.
Yeah.
But I don't think the like complete this Pokedex and catch 10 Starly makes sense, because the whole at least story part in Legends was to complete the Pokedex. But you did catch a lot of Pokemon in Let's Go, and you did catch a lot of Pokemon in Legends.
Yeah.
So I would assume in ZA you're going to catch a lot of Pokemon for a different reason.
Yeah.
Do you think there's
That
any
makes sense.
maybe credibility to the idea that like because this whole game has been positioned as like a reconstruction of Lumio City, that the crafting elements of Legends Arceus might be kind of bolstered and become more dynamic, where you're almost like crafting parts of the city by battling and catching Pokemon and getting their like, what is it, like you get like a Swablu Floof, and then like that gets turned.
I think-
I
I think that would be cool. Like that was legitimately one of my favorite parts of Legends that I feel like isn't talked about enough, is like making Jubilife City come alive.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
And I loved giving people Pokemon and then coming
Yeah.
back and being like, oh man, that's the Pokemon I gave them. Like I
Yeah.
gave them a really small Floatzel, or I gave
Yeah.
them like a
Yeah.
shiny Ponyta, and that's like standing next to them. And I thought that was
Mhm.
so cool. So I would love to see that come back in a game. And if the concept is like building up Lumio City and you're catching Pokemon for like you said, like catching a bunch of floof to like make a clothing store happen or something.
Yeah.
Like I think that would be super cool.
Totally. And it also like it's kind of like the Pelago, where it's like the Pokemon in your PC all of a sudden have a purpose in a way.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah. I don't know how they would do it exactly, but
Even just like seeing your Pokemon in the ranch in Jubilife Village,
yeah.
felt so cool to me.
Yeah,
For sure.
that's straight from the anime, straight from like Professor Oak's lab or
Right.
whatever.
Sure.
They're like hanging out.
Hmm.
That's super fun.
Sometimes it'd be like, oh, that's the shiny Drifloon I caught.
Yeah, like there's a story there.
Mhm.
Yeah, the one thing I don't care about is anything involving AZ. Like, I just thought he was such an uninteresting character. I'm still bitter and annoyed that like at the end of the game when you like save the world, he like interrupts your parade and he's like, battle me.
Sure,
Like,
make it all about
man,
me.
like,
But they
Right,
have to do something with him though, right?
I'm sure I'm sure.
I mean, yeah, the title is his name backwards. They've got to do something.
It's got
Yeah.
to be.
No matter what
His
time
name
period
stands
it's set
for
in,
Area
he's probably
0.
still there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
isn't he like 3,000 years old?
Yeah.
So he'll be 2009.
So if the game's set 200 years in the past, he's gonna be there.
Yeah,
The implication is that he's like immortal now. So if it's set
love it.
another 1,000 years in the future, he still could be there.
Yeah, I think the Legend ZA speculation could be its own 3-hour episode.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, I think I'm pretty excited for what's to come. I think the last topic, if we have got time, and I'd like to get your take on it, is I think what I really care about is, and I'd love to see a return to top-down 2D pixel art Pokemon. I think that'd be so much fun. I don't know what the incentive is, or for Game Freak to do that. I don't even know if it would sell well. If you have any insight on this or opinions, I'd love to hear it.
I'm very much over the like pixel art thing that's going around that like every indie developer does because it's like a little easier to do than like 3D graphics.
Yeah.
What was it wasn't Bravely Default. It was like Octopus Traveler or something that did that.
Yeah.
That did like that
That's how I
2D,
feel about
3D
it.
stuff. And I'm like,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Or is it
my
Octopath.
Octopath, yeah.
Traveler, yeah.
Sorry, I said Octopus. I think my favorite looking Pokemon game has been Let's Go Pikachu, Let's Go Eevee. I just
Sure.
think it's so colorful.
Oh, it's
I love
very
the way,
pretty.
I love the way it looks. It's like not too chibi. It's not too realistic. I think it fits the brand the best.
Mhm.
So I would like to see
Okay.
not a return to that art style, but like how colorful and
Yeah.
how like as much as I like Legends, that game is like 3 colors. It's like brown, gray, and
Yeah.
green.
Yeah.
It
So
is
real.
one of the like
Yeah, Let's Go is it's a really polished and it's a tight game. I feel like everything that's in it was like intentional, and when I play it, I'm not feeling like, okay, maybe they took a shortcut here, or oh, they ran out of budget, or they ran out of time. Like I feel like, I mean, the following animations is a great example of that, right? They didn't just tack that on for fan service.
Yeah.
Like that was like well crafted and intentional.
And I think a similar thing between both Let's Go and Legends is they both have definite endings.
Sure.
There's no they're both very tight games. They set out to accomplish something, and which is technically, I guess, completing the Pokedex in both of them, and you're good to go. And I don't think like bigger is always better, which is
Yeah.
why like if they get rid of the open world in a future Pokemon game because it didn't work in Gen 9, I would be like, okay, that's fine. Like
Yeah.
just like a bigger. I've spent more time in BDSP than I have in Legends
Really?
because like there's more to do in BDSP.
Yeah, for sure. There is.
But there's definitely more to do. There's
Yeah.
more Pokemon to catch, right?
There's more to do.
But that doesn't mean I've enjoyed that time.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just it's just I've had to suffer through more things.
Sure.
Are you telling me you did not enjoy picking out what statues to put up in your secret base?
Oh my gosh, I tried so much to make that work. I also suffered a lot in the contest. I also, what was the thing? You had to like beat Cynthia like 10 or 12 times to get all the correct ribbons to put on your Pokemon so they're
Yeah.
optimized in the contest.
What? I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah, every time you beat Cynthia, you get what's that thing that you can stick to the Pokeball? I don't even remember what they're called. I think they're called
a
ribbons.
seal.
Stickers.
The
Seal.
seals. Yeah, you'll get
Stickers.
The dugong.
You'll
They're
get
like
a-
stickers.
you'll get a champion seal. So if you put
Ah.
10 champion seals on your Pokemon before you go into the contest, you get boosted stats.
That's cool.
But you have to beat her. Technically, I think it's 11 times. The first time you beat her, you don't get any. It's only a
okay.
rematch.
Ah, I had no idea about this. That's crazy.
I
did
never want to
seals
battle
matter?
Cynthia again.
Yeah,
Did they
I'm sure.
matter in Gym 4?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I
I
think
had
that
no
was very-
idea that they could
very-
boost the contest stat until now.
Yeah.
All right, final question. Do you think they're going to tie in Pokemon Sleep to Pokemon Home so you can transfer those Pokemon into your main game? And then maybe
No.
unlock a new hidden power or something. Or what is it called? Like a hidden ability.
Roll credits.
It's the dream world. Pokemon Sleep is the dream world.
Yeah, I think, gosh, I could spend an hour talking about the Dream World. I think the Dream World was such ahead of its time, and I feel like I kick myself every day for not doing more with the Dream World when it existed.
Yeah.
Same.
That's funny.
And when people were like Gen 5 remakes, like, yeah, eventually they'll come for sure. Like Game Freak likes money way too much. But when I think Gen 5 remakes, I think of like, what does a future Dream World look like? Because that I feel like is the hard part. I feel like remaking Black and White, super easy. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that game's pretty linear. It's very traditional. Like, remaking that game, very straightforward. I mean, I would like to see more of a, maybe we just don't get Purloin and P-Dove for the first like 3 routes in that game.
Sure, give us a couple more. That actually would be
maybe give
great.
it-
If Black and White, when they remake that, they include the Black 2 and White 2 decks, and they kind of fuse those together. I don't think they're going to do that.
I don't think I fully ever want a traditional Pokemon experience like BDSP tried to pitch me.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I think that, like, yeah, maybe like Pokemon Sleep is integrated in the Dream World. That would be a good reason, but I think there's like a lot of weight on bringing back the Dream World and making that something special, because it was something special 10 years ago, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost. And I feel like it was ahead of its time. And I feel like if it came out now and they put the same care in it they did with the technology we have now, I think that would absolutely be amazing.
I never played it because you had to actually go on like an actual computer at my parents' house.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know how this works. I'm not doing it. I don't know how it works.
Oh,
Yeah,
even
I think
even as an
understand.
adult, I think I was like 22. I was like, I'm not sure what I'm doing here.
Yeah. Yeah. So new.
I think I got on it like once in my entire time. Like,
Oh,
but
wow.
I was like 10 or 11 when it came out, so I didn't fully understand it.
I vaguely remember like the home screen, but I never transferred anything. I was like, what's a Nintendo ID or
I
whatever it was?
remember there being some pretty bad mini games you had to do.
Yeah.
I maybe only used it like 6 or 7 times. And I totally missed the like Dream Ball Arceus that they gave away to everyone, because they did that whole voting thing of like which Pokemon would you like, and Arceus won.
Nice.
I had no idea that this happened.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, it feels
the
like
end of its life.
it feels kind of like a continuation, or maybe it's the same in the same vein as like the Pokewalker or as the Pelago. Like, it's just like, I don't know. The Pelago honestly kind of feels like a dream world, right? Like,
Yeah. it did
you have these little
similar
chibis
vibe.
just bouncing around. Things can appear.
Mhm.
There's random to-dos. Yeah, maybe that's a whole video in itself. But Steve, do you have any closing thoughts? What are you looking forward to the most in Beyond Legends ZA?
I think that the thing I would be looking forward to would be just the 30th anniversary. I think that, like, we are in such a different spot in Pokemon since the 20th anniversary. 20th anniversary was Sun and Moon. It was Pokemon Go. It was like the start of Detective Pikachu movie. We're and like no one, even myself, expected Pokemon Go to be this like huge resurgence. And I remember having people. Sorry, this is like a weird monologue.
No,
I
this is
remember
good.
having people on the. I remember having people on the podcast, like other creators or game journalists, and I would always ask them the same question. I would say, like, what would it take for Pokemon to like get new players? Like, what do you think they have to do? And I would never get like an answer, right? Or like a good enough answer. But then when you look back on it, it was Pokemon Go.
Yeah,
It was
something new.
like it was so impactful to people who just were not into gaming, were not into Pokemon. Like, I went to the dentist 2 weeks ago, and they saw I had Pokemon Go opened as I was getting out my credit card, and they're like, oh, "I play," and I'm like,
Like, you don't know who I am. I obsess.
Like, you just wouldn't get that. Like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
With people.
No, absolutely.
And it's cool that it's almost like Pokemon is the equivalent to like a Star Wars adult or a Disney adult. Like, it's just so normalized now.
Yeah.
So it's very cool. I would hope. I'm excited to see what a 30th anniversary will be now that this fandom is just so much bigger than it was a decade ago.
Yeah.
And I think they know that. I think they very much realize that they grew their audience just because of a very mediocre mobile game.
But they've been milking it. I think they are taking care of it. I think all of these new mobile games that they introduce, Unite, or it's not Unite. It's what's the one on mobile?
Unite.
The triple.
Unite's on mobile.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What's the triple battle one?
Masters.
So there's Pokemon Masters, Pokemon Sleep. Like, these are little like fishing hooks, right? These are little fishing lines that they're sending out, trying to like maybe tap into new levels of seriousness.
Pokemon Smile.
Yeah, dude, that's a new generation right there.
When are we getting competitive Pokemon Smile? I'm wanting that. In my
when's that gonna be at the
VGC
VGC?
When will Pokemon Smile link to Pokemon Home? That's
Yeah, man, I'm excited. So, I mean, do you see the franchise continuing to grow? Do you think we're in like a healthy place? Because
it's dying tomorrow.
Because being online, there's so much toxicity.
So
we're pretty positive, but
it's funny. I mute a lot of Pokemon creators, not because like I dislike them or anything, but I think because I have to talk about Pokemon every week, I don't want my own thoughts to be influenced.
Yeah.
So I end up muting a lot of creators. That way, like, there are creators I respect and creators I adore, but at least when I mute them, I can go to their profile on my own time when I'm in like, a good headspace and like consume that kind of stuff. Because like you guys have put out a lot of stuff, and so like if I'm like, man, I really want to know what people think about current rumors, like I know exactly where to go, and then I can like read all that, and that for me has like helped navigate the the toxic fandom that has exist. Like if somebody comes up on my TikTok that's Pokemon, I'm blocking them right away. It's not because I hate them or anything. It's just like I want my TikTok not to be Pokemon.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Like I get Pokemon everywhere else.
Sure.
That's my one no Pokemon please on my TikTok.
Sure.
Yeah, I think I'm super excited for the 30th anniversary, and I do think that the TCG Pocket will be more impactful than Unite, than Masters, than Sleep. Like I like all those games, but when you think of like what can be as impactful as Pokemon Go, I think Pocket can be.
I think it was the TCG boom in 2020, right?
Yeah,
that has to be it.
But I think right now, because of that TCG boom, there's like such a hole in people being like, this is too expensive, this is too much work, I can't find cards, and having a mobile version of that to scratch that itch.
Yeah, and also distill down what people actually care the most about with collecting cards. It's ripping packs and seeing a cool piece of art. That's literally all the game is, and I'm excited to play it.
So I think Pocket will be bigger than people expect.
That's awesome.
Oh,
I love to hear that.
It'll be big.
I love to hear that.
Yeah.
Imagine if it came out, like just 2 years ago, like in the height of like Pokemon card scalping and all that stuff,
Oh boy.
Good times.
Well, Steve, I really appreciate your time today. We've been trying to get this going for a couple months now, so I appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
You've
it was awesome
from the start, you've been like one of the names that like before we ever had a guest on, you've always been like, at some point we have to have Steve on,
Yeah. You're like the champion of Pokemon podcasts.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just because I've been doing it for so long. That's all.
No, you're good at what you do too. You seriously are. I enjoy listening to your stuff. I love that you talk about the more obvious news, like there was a new trailer, but also like I watched last night. I think I watched your video on the AI art stuff. I love that you cover that kind of more lesser known news in the Pokemon community. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Very important.
Cool. Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
Yeah.